I would say, if you want to know, the most important thing we can do is to do all three: sell ourselves, sell our company, and sell our product. Now, in the process of doing those three things the right way, we're going to accentuate each one of the three. Does that make sense? If I do a good job selling a product, well, then they're going to be more attracted to me and my dealership. If I do a good job selling the dealership, they're going to be more attracted to me and my product. They work together. So we got to do all three. And in doing all three, we are attracting the client to each one of those three.
Brilliant.
At a higher level. How you can be the greatest salesperson on the planet.
Welcome to the Rethink Sales Show. My name is Derek Kelly. I am joined by Jim Shorkey. And Jim, something fascinating I've been thinking about is the importance of selling yourself before your product. So how do we sell ourselves? How do we sell ourselves well? And what are the right questions we need to be thinking about as we think about how to sell ourselves, not our product? Talk through that.
I would say that the most important aspect of selling yourself would be how you present to the client. So number one, we want to dress for success. And so my idea about that would be we should dress at the same level, maybe a little above, but very close to the same level as our clientele in general. We want to make sure that our hygiene is really, really good. We can't have food. This sounds graphic, but we can't have food in our teeth. We can't have breath issues. We can't be sloppy looking, dirty fingernails that aren't trimmed properly. In other words, our personal hygiene is either going to make us more attractive. Now stop and think. Rethink sales. So our personal hygiene makes us more attractive or less attractive. The less attractive we are, the less chance we have of selling a car today. The more attractive we are, the better the chance we have of selling a car today. So that would be the first thing I'd look at is my hygiene. My whole dress, my shoes, the way I smell, my oral hygiene, the whole thing. Am I as attractive as I possibly can be? And another one would be cologne. If you're wearing too much cologne, that definitely is a turnoff. So we want to be if we're going to use cologne, very mild. We don't want to be overbearing. So think about your personal hygiene as that relates to the client. And you might ask the opinion of some of your fellow team members or your significant other. Like, how do I look? Take a look in the mirror. How do I look, right? So I would work on that as a primary first step. It's not the only step, of course. The second step, and I've said this before, but I'm going to repeat myself. I have friends that will come to me, call me, text me, whatever. So I got a good buddy. I got a good friend who would be a great salesperson. She's got the gift of gab. He's got the gift of gab. Well, let me tell you something. That is exactly what will make you a horrible salesperson. So we have two eyes and we have two ears, okay? And we have one mouth. And if you look up nonverbal communication, the vast majority of our communication is, in fact, nonverbal. It's like at a low 40, 50, 60. I've heard 90%. Certainly, we can say over 50% of our communication is nonverbal. And so when we're talking to the client, if we have our eyes open and we're really looking, we can see whether we've said something good or bad by how they position their body after we said it. And we can see when they're really excited about something by the way they pursue the body language and the things that they do. You know, voice tonality is a version of body language. And hands, how we use our hands. You know, are we in a defensive mode? Are we in an open mode? Like all these different things. So we listen with our eyes and we listen with our ears, that combination. The second thing about communication, or maybe that's third, I don't know, but another aspect of communication is bad, ineffective salespeople tend to answer questions that haven't been asked.
Brilliant. I learned this the hard way.
They tend to answer questions that have not been asked. They tend to cut the client off because they already know where the conversation is going. So they tend to interrupt the customer's dialogue. People hate that. So if you want to figure out a way to sell less, interrupt your customer, cut them off. That's a huge mistake. Communication, the art of selling is the art of communication. A lot of times, and I'm guilty of this, the client will be talking and I'm so busy thinking about what I'm going to say in response that I'm not even listening. I'm thinking about what I'm going to say. We need to stop that. We need to stop. And I actually, in terms of nonverbal communication, one of the things I used to do is when I was really trying to focus and listen to the customer, I would actually turn my head. I was like, can you be a little more clear in that? And I would do this, which would send them a signal that I really want to hear what they have to say. So you can actually manipulate your nonverbal communication in that manner. Like turn your head, really try to listen. Make your eyes a little wider.
That shows you really care too.
Yeah, it shows you care.
Like, you're really engaged.
People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. We talked about this previously.
Yeah.
Stephen Covey said, seek first to understand. Come again? Then to be understood.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, as salespeople, we tend to interrupt the customer. We tend to cut them off. We tend to answer questions that have been asked. We tend to do a lot of things that are really horrible communication.
Yeah.
So if you want to become more attractive, and quite frankly, I don't remember what your question was. What was the question?
Yeah, the question was really, and you answered it so well, was what do we focus on? We focus on selling ourselves first. That's really the piece of it. Like we need to sell ourselves first well before we sell our product. Agree or disagree?
Be careful. Be careful. We want to focus on the things that we can control, which is how we look. But the things that make us attracted to the client are going to be listening to the client.
That's right.
And taking good notes and coming. Can I make sure that I understand this? You mentioned that safety was important to you, and the reason is because of your children who you care deeply about, which is, I love that. I think that's great.
Yes.
And I want to make sure that I get this safety thing nailed for you.
Yep.
And when I'm done doing that, I'm going to ask you, Derek, have we resolved the safety thing?
Right.
And I've got your children in mind as I say that. So seek first to understand where you're coming from. Why is safety so important to you?
Right.
It might be, maybe it's a client that has no children, but he or she just survived a really bad accident. Shoulda, coulda, would have been killed.
Yeah.
But because of the safety, they're here.
And they want to really.
And a lot of times when the client says like something important, it's because we don't know where they're coming from. All cars are safe today. Well, some are safer than others, and you're dismissing the client, and you just have turned them off. So if they say safety, we better make sure that we're listening very intensively to what they're saying, and then find out why they're saying it. Oh my God, you did? Wow. I am so sorry to hear about the accident, but I'm so happy and grateful that you're okay.
Yeah.
Everything going well? Well, I still have to go to physical therapy. Yeah, well, okay. Make sure you stick with that. That's really, really important. So let's go to work on what safety features this particular vehicle has. And let's make sure before we do anything else that we've got that resolved, because I'm sure happy and grateful that you're here with me today.
Yeah.
And without the right safety features, you may not have been.
Yeah, and I promise that the lowest trim and the highest trim have different safety features. I mean, it's probably pretty likely, right?
Well, no, actually, the safety features are pretty much mandated in the car.
Okay.
For example, anti-lock brakes. That's pretty much becoming standard fare. Airbags, seat belts. But still, we need to know how they work and what they mean and what they do, and just even though it has that. Would it be smart for us to point out that it has that?
I was thinking more about there's certain vehicles across all brands that do things like lane assist. If you go out of your lane,
the more expensive vehicles versus less expensive. You're right. Yep. You're 100% right. I have this thing I'm driving a Jeep right now, and if I'm not far enough past the car when I put my turn signal on, it sends off a beep. It's like, I talk
helpful.
To it. I got you, man. I got you. I'm okay. But you got to be far enough beyond, or it sends an alarm. And, to me, it's kind of annoying. But at the same time, there was recently a situation. I was driving back with Amy from out east, and I really didn't see the car to the right of me. Put the turn signal on. It's beeping. I look, oh, geez, there is. Thank God I didn't get over it. There's a car right there.
Yeah.
So I said a little prayer of thank you. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is, okay, the question was, hey, how do we, do we need to sell ourselves in order to sell our product? And I think you're saying yes. To the extent that you can, right? You can't, right?
Yeah,
okay,
but
work on your
but-
hygiene, work on your sales skills, work on those
But
things.
hold on. So yeah, that's the hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
But please listen to me here. As we go through the right process
Mm-hmm.
with the client, by the nature of the process, we are going to be selling ourselves. We are going to become an attractive personality. Yeah, the hygiene, we nailed it. Yeah, we're listening. We're using the ears and eyes and body, but also because we ask the right questions up front, our process is so solid that and we're selling value. I mean, if the client comes in and says, I'm really concerned about safety, and we go over all the safety features, then they're going to have a higher sense of value in their minds relative to our product. And we're going to become more attractive because we sold to them, not the previous client.
Yes.
We sold to them. We got into their hearts. We got into emotion. You know, even though we aren't going to talk about their accident, believe me, by the fact that we're talking about safety, guess what they're thinking about?
They understand my accident. They understand what I need.
I mean, what are they thinking? But the client,
Clients thinking I just got in this bad accident. I
yeah,
want the
they're
safest
thinking
car
about it. They're not
possible.
talking about it, but they're thinking about it.
Yep.
And so they're going to be very attentive to our conversation about safety. And when they are attentive to that conversation, which they would be because they just had a bad accident and it's in their mind, they can't get it out.
Yep.
And so we become more attractive.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
it's
if the
brilliant.
process is
Yes.
proper, is the car going to be more attractive to the client?
Absolutely.
If the process is proper, is the dealership going to be more attractive to the client?
Yes.
And if we do those two things very well, are we going to be more attractive to the client?
Yeah. So
And the
it's,
sales are going to start looking for
yeah.
us.
So it's a both and. Take care of yourself the best you can and have
Yeah.
these pieces in
That's
place.
I really, you asked the question, but that's, man, if you don't have that figured out, come on. Your breath stinks. Let's get that fixed. Take a toothbrush to work with you. Go to work before you
Yeah.
go get
Yeah.
that fixed. Come on.
Right.
Pretty sure in Western Pennsylvania, they do have deodorant here, correct? They have showers. They have soap. Come on.
Yeah.
Don't be dumb.
Yeah.
Trim your fingernails. Get the dirt off from underneath your finger. You look sloppy. Can't you polish your own darn shoes? You know? Come on. You don't need to wear a tuxedo,
Right.
but you certainly shouldn't be sloppy. Stains all over your shirt, you know, just a mess. It's going to detract from
Yeah.
your scenario. You'll become less attractive to the client,
Yeah.
and you're moving away from a sale.
That's right.
Because there's enough people out there that will dress properly, proper hygiene. All that's a fundamental. Like if you're missing that one, man, I can't help you. If you don't get that straight, I can't help you. If I got to tell you, oh, by the way, don't forget to brush your teeth, I can't help you.
Right.
We're not here to talk about these basics. We're here to talk about what's most important to you,
Yeah.
Miss Client. What's next most important to you, Miss Client? And then once we get that list, going back to each one and saying beyond the obvious, why is that so important to you?
Yeah.
And that's where the story comes into play, the emotion comes into play, and now we proceed to the product to show them how we can answer their call.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Jim, thank you for just talking through how all that connects together, right? I think that's why people love the show, is people love to hear, how are we going to rethink sales today, right? And you're talking about just really understanding this process that helps you deeply understand the customer.
I need to do one more thing. So it's Rethink Sales. It's Rethink You 2.0.
That's right.
It's results from thinking. And that all said, results are the name of the game. So I want you to do me a special favor. And you may have already done this, but do it again. Google the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group and understand that my father died on March 24th, 1996. March 24th, 1996. 2 years later, because of my own stupidity, the company was bankruptcy imminent. And so I had a really big problem and I had to get it fixed. It was one dealership, 2 franchises, Oldsmobile Jeep, and I was in deep trouble. And so I used this program called Rethink You, Results from Thinking, and I can prove that. It wasn't even in existence yet, but I used this idea to do what I needed to do, which started primarily with the book Think and Grow Rich and going to Mr. Hamilton and asking for advice, expert counsel. And when you Google the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, you're going to see the results. Results are the name of the game. They are. And you just look at it and say, holy cow, out of the ashes of bankruptcy imminent, look at it now. I challenge you, look at it now.
Yeah.
Because this is what can happen to anybody. Now, I'm not talking about the car business. I'm talking about life. Can we improve our health with this process? Can we improve our love with this process? Can we improve our income with this process, our business, whatever it is that you want to improve upon? If you do what we're asking you to do today, when you look back at where you were, you, my friends, will need a telescope to see where you were. That's how far you're going to come. And with that, back to Derek.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim. And thank you guys. Just you can hear from Jim just the passion of wanting to see you all grow. So thank you, Jim. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the next episode.